All right, welcome to Lights, Camera, Remake, where we try to determine whether Hollywood has truly run out of ideas. I'm Bridget LaMonica, a camera operator and Steadicam operator, and this is another special video episode at the Hairston Crossing Library, where we're doing a live recording in front of the library's Filmmakers Club to teach about podcasting. So today my co-host is Martin Bennett, librarian, indie filmmaker, and good egg. Martin, tell me a little bit, actually tell my listeners, because I already know, tell my listeners about what you do in the library's Filmmakers Club.
So thank you for having me, Bridget, and thank you for allowing the Filmmakers Club to watch this process. So the Filmmakers Club is a group that meets monthly to talk about craft topics related to film. So it's a group that's designed for new filmmakers, but also for experienced filmmakers. So we kind of share craft ideas and we work on projects together, such as short films.
I love that. And honestly, I will tell you from experience that literally working on short films and your own projects is one of the best ways to learn, because the barrier to entry in getting into the film industry, it's like you're waiting for somebody else to give you permission. Give yourself permission. Make your own short films, work on your own projects, write your own scripts, practice, and make sure you ask questions if you ever have the chance to of anybody who's doing the kind of thing you want to do. So cool. I'm so excited that you're here. I'm so excited that you suggested the topic of the episode, because I almost picked Freaky Friday because Freakier Friday just came out and I did watch it. It was actually pretty decent. I'm going to give them some
It's doing well on the box office.
Jamie Lee Curtis is wonderful.
Of course.
So yeah, there's been a lot of remakes. This has been the summer of remakes. So yeah. Also, Disney remakes has been on the docket for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We've kind of started talking about it a little bit, but I'm really digging into it now, and I'm so excited you suggested Aladdin, because I never watched the remake.
Before this, I hadn't either. So let me talk. You know why I chose this?
Why did you choose this?
Because I saw Aladdin for the first time when I was 3 years old at the Lakeshore Mall Cinema in Gainesville. So it's a part of my childhood.
Yeah.
It's also one of my wife's favorite movie. If she doesn't like it, I could cut this out. But she had a crush on Aladdin.
I can see that.
So it's weird. I chose this topic because there's a lot of live actions. Everyone thought live actions were dead, and then all of a sudden Lilo and Stitch did big.
Yeah, they did.
And I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about Aladdin. This is a movie that's big with me in childhood. I saw it when I was 3 years old at the Lakeshore Mall Cinema. I'm a #deadmalls. And someone I knew said that they thought this remake, this live action adaptation, was better than the original.
That's a tough thing to say, especially in a landscape that does not like remakes.
And I was just kind of surprised by that. So I'm like, let's talk about it and let's watch it, because I hadn't seen it either.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this was fresh for both of us, but of course, I started with rewatching the original Aladdin from 1992. Now, of course, we're talking about remakes, and we're so sad about things being remade. I mean, this essentially is another adaptation of yet another story, a story that's literally probably as old as the subject matter. Yeah. Like, what was it, 1001 Arabian Nights?
So history thoughts. So, 1001 Nights is the original story, and it was translated by this French guy named Antoine Galland, and he had heard the stories from the storyteller from Syria called Hana Diab. It was translated as Arabian Nights, so sometimes it's called Arabian Nights. Fun fact, though, Aladdin and the Wonderful Lamp was not a part of the original 1001 Nights.
I heard that.
No, it was actually its own separate story. It's called an orphan tale. This story and Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves are not part of the original 1001 Nights. Yeah.
That's funny, because they adapt Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves in the third Aladdin movie.
Yeah. So let me give you some historical ideas. Yeah. I'm going to ask you a couple of quiz questions.
Oh no, I'm being quizzed? There's a test?
A little bit. First question. What was the original country that Aladdin was set? Was it A, Saudi Arabia, B, Iran or Persia, C, India, or D, China, or E, none of the above?
Oh, I think this is a trick question. I'm going to say it's E, none of the above.
It's D, China.
It's China? Okay, no, I'm surprised. Our studio audience is surprised too.
So the original Aladdin and the Wonderful Lamp, so here's what happened. It's set in China. But when you read the story, it's actually not particularly Chinese. Like, they refer to the leader of the country as the Sultan, not the Emperor.
Right.
So there's a lot of the sort of what we would call Middle East, North Africa traits in the story. So a lot of scholars have kind of thought about why China. I think there is an idea that maybe it took place in like the western part of China, which during the Silk Road days was, largely Muslim. But I think a lot of people think it took place in China because it was just a way of saying somewhere really far away.
I see.
Galaxy far away.
Yeah, galaxy far away, essentially. We still do that to this day.
Yeah. Question 2, the last question.
Okay.
Which character in Aladdin, in both these adaptations, which one is a real human being that existed in history?
A real human being?
Yeah.
Oh, no. It can't be Jafar. He was invented for the animation. I don't think it can be Aladdin. He's just like the everyman who comes into luck. It's going to be Raja the tiger. I don't know.
It is Jafar.
No, stop it.
Jafar.
You're blowing my mind.
Jafar bin Yahya. I might have pronounced that right. Let me pronounce that again. Jafar bin Yahya. That is the name of the real Jafar. So there was a real Jafar in history.
Okay.
I've got a Forbes article we could put with the video
Excellent.
post.
I'll take it.
But essentially, there was a real Jafar who was a vizier. So vizier is kind of like a
vizier. In the
it's kind of like
cartoon.
prime minister for the sultan or the
Right.
caliph. So at the time, it was a caliphate. So Jafar was a real live human that was the vizier for the caliph. Apparently, he was a science guy. He brought a lot of scientific advances to the region, to the Abusat Caliphate. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong.
Yeah.
He also brought the first paper mill to Baghdad. So paper was a secret that was kept in China.
Yeah.
And he was the one who was able to get the paper secret. Basically, he built a paper mill with using Chinese way of building paper to Baghdad. And then he was later killed by the caliph. History doesn't really have an idea about why he was killed, but there was a real Jafar.
Okay, you surprised me with that. So I guess without little ado, we've got 2 movies to cover. So I'm going to start with Aladdin, 1992, directed by Ron Clements and John Musker, written by Ron Clements, John Musker, and Ted Elliott, with music by Alan Menken as the composer and Howard Ashman doing lyrics. And then our main cast, I'm just going to go over a couple of them because there's so many. Scott Weinger as Aladdin, Robin Williams as Genie, and the peddler in the intro, if you guys didn't know that. He's the peddler that sings Arabian Nights. Linda Larkin as Princess Jasmine. And obviously Gilbert Gottfried is in there. And yeah, great freaking cast. Great cast. Fun fact, so this movie came out in 1992. Scott Weinger and Linda Larkin were still voicing Aladdin and Jasmine up until 2023 because they were doing video games, they were doing cameos in other movies like Ralph Breaks the Internet, TV movies, all sorts of things. Like Disney has just released like something, not Dreamlight Valley, some other Disney thing just got released, and their voices are in that too. So great staying power and financial security. So good for them.
Yeah.
Proud of you. I guess we'll go over, can you go over the IMDb rating, the Rotten Tomatoes scores, and we'll talk about the budget real quick?
Yeah, so Aladdin still has a lot of staying power. So IMDb rating, it's 8 out of 10, which is huge.
It's really good for IMDb.
Rotten Tomatoes, 96% whatever. 92% popcorn score, so the audience score is 92%. Yeah. So the critics score 96, audience 92. Budget was $28 million, which I don't know what that would be now. Probably like close to 50
I would
or
say
more.
At least double.
But the box office, so in U.S. and Canada alone, it grossed $217 million off a $28 million box office. Overall, worldwide, it grossed $500 million. A lot of that was in Europe and Japan.
That's right.
But I think like 54% of its gross came from worldwide, but it was a huge hit. Just in the U.S. and Canada. The IMDb description, basically this movie is about a kind-hearted street urchin, or street rat, and a power-hungry Grand Vizier vying for a magic lamp that has the power to make their deepest wishes come true. The 3 wishes.
Who wouldn't want that? I did write down the plot of Aladdin. I'm going to try to just roll through this real quick. I feel like everybody here remembers the plot of Aladdin, the basics. 3 wishes, genie, you're supposed to get it for Jafar. He ends up getting the genie himself, wants to impress the princess, fakes her out by being a prince. He's not really a prince, has a chance to tell her the truth, doesn't. And then we have a big climactic battle in which Jafar takes Genie and starts getting more and more power hungry because that's his deal. And then Aladdin, with his quick wits, tells him, well, you'll never be as powerful as the genie. And so Jafar makes himself into a genie, then imprisoning himself in his own magic lamp, and yay, they're happy. And Jafar is carted off into the Cave of Wonders to be discovered in a straight-to-video sequel. So, thank you for laughing at the joke. But yeah, so I would say the themes of this movie, and it carries through to the remake, is Aladdin's theme is be yourself. Jafar's theme is power corrupts. These are very classic themes, but it still works very well. And it's told in a story that's so beautifully illustrated and animated, and the music is still catchy to this day.
So that's my sort of big thesis about Aladdin, is that I think a lot of people's response to Aladdin, in terms of its staying power, is Robin Williams. And no doubt, Robin Williams, his performance, it was one of the first performances where they had like a name A-list actor do voice acting. Most of the time, voice acting is done by these folks who are a little, either professional voice actors, character actors, or, even, Broadway stars like Jodie Benson in Little Mermaid. She was a Broadway actress.
Right.
Fun fact, she lives in Georgia.
Oh, cool.
But they brought Robin Williams in, and he became the big star of this film. And I think everyone kind of, when they think of Aladdin, when they think of the nostalgia of Aladdin, they're always thinking about Robin Williams. I would make the argument, though, the staying power for this movie and all these, Disney Renaissance movies, it's the music.
Yeah.
The music is so good.
It's just so good. And we'll touch on this, too, when we hit the remake. But again, I was humming along with the music and catching up with the dialogue and stuff. I guess I'm going to skip my next note about Robin Williams. We're going to come back to him. But I really wanted to talk about the lyrics and how they changed over the years. So in 1992, in the intro song Arabian Nights, there is a line that goes, where they cut off your ear if they don't like your face. It's barbaric, but hey, it's home. Over the years, that became very distasteful because we're like, hey, you're making assumptions about a supposed Middle Eastern country. They never say what the country is. It's a fake city of Agrabah. But that became a tough issue. So they updated the animated version where they sing, where it's flat and immense and the heat is intense. It's barbaric, but hey, it's home. They still say barbaric. In the live-action version, they say, where you wander among every culture and tongue. It's chaotic, but hey, it's home. They also made that song much longer in the remake.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought that was worth noting because that song has gone through so many updates as people's proclivities have changed.
Yeah.
I guess I'm of the camp that I think we should look at media that was beloved and sometimes problematic and just know better now. There's plenty of Disney things that are problematic, but I mean, I understand that I shouldn't do these things as an adult. And if your kids are watching something and they're like, hey, wouldn't it be great to have 7 little men do everything for me? It's like, well, no, but we'll explain that later, honey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just wanted to point that out. Circling back to Robin Williams. Famous comedian who loved to improvise. He did that for every movie he's ever done. He must have been a nightmare to edit, but a joy to be around. Robin Williams improvised so much that there were 16 hours of material to edit. He recorded for 30 hours. In fact, the introductory scene when he's playing the peddler who's selling his wares and singing the song of Aladdin, it was completely unscripted. Actually, the animators presented Robin Williams with a table of props, and it had like a sheet over it to cover it. And they're like, okay, one at a time, take out a prop and say in character what it is. And apparently most of that was not safe for work. He had some dirty jokes, but they used that eventually in the intro of the movie.
Yeah, and it was kind of crazy they did that because, animation is notoriously like, you don't animate anything until you've got everything locked. And so to be able to kind of work with that animation, I think that does give that character to the genie and make it so much richer in that way.
The animation is the last part you do.
Yeah.
When you're doing the everything else, you've got that. They'll work with previs and like just pictures of what the scenes are going to look like until they can actually animate the characters.
Yeah.
Also, this ad-libbing that Robin Williams was doing actually made them lose a chance at Best Adapted Screenplay because technically these words were not written. They were just improvised. We're gonna talk about how this story changed over time because they were trying to make this movie for a long time. All right, so this movie was a long time in the making. Howard Ashman is the one who originally pitched it. He pitched a version of Aladdin in 1988. the 40-page treatment he wrote, which is basically this happens and this happens and this happens. It's not a proper script, but it's like, hey, here's the overall story. He wrote a 40-page treatment, which is ridiculous. It's usually like 2 pages. It was rejected, so he's like, oh man. Then another writer came onto the project because Disney's just going to keep next writer, next writer, next writer. Next one was Linda Wolverton. She did Beauty and the Beast. She wrote another version. She added a villain named Jafar and a friend of Aladdin's named Abu, who was a dude and not a monkey. John Musker and Ron Clements finished The Little Mermaid and were given a few choices of what to work on next. They chose Aladdin. I forget what one of the ones they passed up was a story about a lion.
Yeah, they passed up The Lion King, essentially. They passed up The Lion King, which is shocking, but, you know,
they didn't
for the
know.
best. Yeah, they
you
didn't
don't know when you hear the initial
2020.
idea.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020.
So Howard Ashman, who originally came up with this story, he wrote music. And some of that music ended up in the very final version.
Yes. So he was the lyricist. So basically, Howard Ashman, he was the lyricist. Alan Menken, he did the music. So they were both behind Little Shop of Horrors, the musical that was eventually adapted in 1986 in a movie. Disney brought them in. They were the ones that were behind Little Mermaid. They were behind Beauty and the Beast, and then they were working on the music for Aladdin. So Howard Ashman, unfortunately, he was diagnosed with HIV/AIDS in 1988, and then he passed away in March '91 as he was working on this.
Which is unfortunate, but his legacy did live on because he did get credit for this movie. So now our directors, Musker and Clements, they turned in a script that also used Ashman's music, but their script didn't work at the time, so they went back to the drawing board.
Yeah, and so Jeffrey Katzenberg. So Jeffrey Katzenberg, if you don't know, is like a big deal. Like Jeffrey Katzenberg, so kind of timeline back.
Yeah.
You know, in the early 80s, basically Disney was in trouble. They were making movies no one was watching. The animation was weird. So they brought in, Roy Disney, who was on the board of directors, who was the nephew of Walt Disney. He took over, okay? They brought in Michael Eisner. And then there was this team that was Michael Eisner. I forgot the other guy. It doesn't matter. And Jeffrey Katzenberg. So Jeffrey Katzenberg is kind of in charge of the animations. This is the guy who would go on to found DreamWorks. So he was behind DreamWorks. He was also behind Quibi.
Oh my gosh, Quibi.
So he was behind Quibi. So Jeffrey.
It came and went.
Yeah. So Quibi.
It was like a quick video service, and imagine TikTok, but if it wasn't popular.
And it wasn't, and it was paid.
Yeah.
So Jeffrey Katzenberg, he did this, and so Jeffrey Katzenberg, he was kind of a tough guy. So he was the one who rejected the Aladdin treatment. He didn't really want to make it, and then as it kind of come along, he comes around to it, but. He looked at the previs, he looked at the work that people had done in April 1991, so a month after Howard Ashman had passed. And he was like, yeah, this is junk. I need everyone to start over. And not only are you starting over, but there's a November 1992 release date.
Yeah.
We're still keeping that.
They had a release date,
So
and they didn't even have the movie, and they're like, oh, we're still keeping that release date.
So everyone called that Black Friday.
Yeah, and then in the final film, Arabian Nights, which is one of 3 songs written by Ashman, that's the one that definitely lasted throughout the entirety of this chaotic production. I did want to talk about the sequel to this movie real quick because it's important.
Yeah.
I mean, The Return of Jafar. So, Aladdin was a big hit. And by 1994, they released their first straight-to-video feature, The Return of Jafar. Disney had not done this before. Now it's just assumed that they always did this. There's tons of these straight-to-video sequels for every one of their tentpole movies. Yeah. This also, when they did Return of Jafar, it also served as the pilot to the Aladdin TV series, which ran for 3 seasons and had 86 episodes. That's a lot. You cannot find that on Disney Plus for some reason. I have no idea why. What's funny is they didn't believe in this. They were like, the director of Disney Features at the time was Peter Schneider, and he said, you shouldn't do sequels. Their quality hurts the Disney reputation. If only they felt this way now. But then the numbers came in. So Return of Jafar was on a $3.5 million budget. If you remember, the first movie was $28 million. I mean, you can see the quality difference. It was not as pretty, but it was still a story that continued on. They sold $1.5 million in the first few days after the release. Overall, they made $300 million on a $3.5 million budget.
You're more in the same year as I'm in. Do you remember when this movie came out?
I think I remember seeing it on VHS.
I remember when it came. It was the clamshell VHS.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing commercials for it. It was
That's
it was a big deal when it came out.
It was a big
It was a
deal.
big deal. Yeah, no, I remember it very
And
clearly.
they were worried that the quality difference would turn off the home video audience, but like kids didn't care.
Yeah, I mean, this was the success of this video is what inspired pretty much every direct-to-video
Exactly.
sequel.
That's why it's important for me to mention, because like when we talk about originality and stuff, like this is where this started with Disney. Also, in Return of Jafar, Robin Williams did not do the voice of Genie.
No.
It was Dan Castellaneta, which is
Yes.
he's known as Homer Simpson usually.
Yeah.
They had similar enough voices. The thing was, Robin Williams was upset that Disney heavily used his voice in the marketing for the original Aladdin. The deal was he took a pay cut he was going to get $8 million. He actually got $75,000 to do the first movie. He took a pay cut, and his what do you call it? His requirement was, don't use my voice heavily in the advertising. Otherwise, you need to pay for that.
Yeah.
And then they heavily used his voice in
Yeah.
the advertising because the genie and the personality was like a big selling
Yeah.
feature of the movie. He got upset. He pulled out from the second movie, but he did return for the third movie because I'm pretty sure the exec that he had a problem with either died or just left the company. So yeah, that's a little bit about that. So this movie started a run of successful, if not tiresome, trend of Disney movies making multiple lower quality sequels for its major films up until about 2008. So I'm talking like The Lion King 1.5, Tarzan and Jane, Beauty and Beast, The Enchanted Christmas, Atlantis, Milo's Return. Fun fact, that was also supposed to be a TV show, and then they canned it, so they made it into a movie.
Yeah.
That's why it makes no sense.
Yeah, a lot of these movies were like TV shows, a lot of these things, but yeah, this was like almost yearly, all the time trend. When in 2004, I think it was around 2004, basically Disney was about to lose Pixar. So Disney was about to lose Pixar. Roy E. Disney did another coup, got Michael Eisner out, and brought in Bob Iger, whose return is still the current CEO. Bob Iger got a deal where Pixar became officially a brand of Disney, because at the time it was more of an independent company. Steve Jobs, because of his affiliation with Pixar, became a board member of Walt Disney Company, and John Lasseter, who was the then CEO, or who was then in charge of Pixar, he came back. And he became the animation director, essentially. He became in charge of animation, and he was the one who said, "No more sequels."
Yeah.
He was the one who basically kiboshed that.
Right. Yeah. So like these corporate decisions, they sound really boring to me, but this all filters down into the work that you end up seeing on screen. So like one corporate executive's decision will determine what you see in the movie theaters for the next 10 years or more. So in 2019, they remade this movie, Martin.
Yeah. So so it looks like 2019. So I remember when they released the news for this. So it came down the pipeline. Okay, we've got these two movies coming out. One was Dumbo, directed by Tim Burton.
Oh, that's right.
So that was announced for 2019, and then they announced Aladdin, directed by Guy Ritchie. And it was written by John August, who runs the Script Notes podcast, and who actually was a longtime screenwriter of Tim Burton's films. He wrote Big Fish, he wrote Corpse Bride.
Oh, yeah.
So he was brought in as the screenwriter, taking over for Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio, who went on to write Shrek, the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, The Mask of Zorro. So yeah, I remember when the news came out about this, like Guy Ritchie directing Aladdin.
It felt weird, right?
It was wild.
A choice. But sometimes the weirdest things will end up being a good choice.
Yeah.
Like nobody believed that Heath Ledger could be the Joker, and he was one of the pivotal portrayals of that character. But yeah, so Aladdin 2019, live action, starring Maina Massoud. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Naomi Scott, Will Smith, and a bunch of other people. IMDb rating is a 6.9 out of 10. Not terrible. I did not write down the Rotten Tomatoes because I forgot to.
So I think the Rotten Tomatoes score, it's actually kind of mid. It's like 50-something.
Yeah, I'm
but
not
the audience
surprised.
score is like 90-something.
That's surprising. Okay. So like I feel like people were so upset about sequels and live action remakes at this time. I'm surprised that it had such a... But like, here's the thing. Like, I want to hate these so much. I want to hate on them, but I've watched a couple of these recently for the podcast, and I find things I like and I find things I don't like. So I think really we need to see things before we make a full judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the budget for the live action is $183 million.
It's nuts.
It's a lot of money.
Well, because you know, 183 million doesn't mean 133 million. It really means like with P&I, with marketing and everything like that, they're probably doubling that. So they're probably
marketing's
like
more.
this has probably got like a break even of like $400 million.
Yeah, but which is good because the gross worldwide, what it made everywhere, over $1 billion. Like, I know I'm surprised too because I thought this was one of the movies that people didn't like, but after looking at the scores and looking at the numbers, like people went to this movie. I did do a little research to see if there was any other kids movie competition at the time. The only other movie I saw released in the same month that could have been a family movie was Detective Pikachu. So there was no other movie competition at the time.
Which was also kind of a hit too. I mean,
I liked it.
So if I may break down the box office,
You may.
here's the thing. If you look at the box office, so domestic, it earned about $360 million, right? That seems like it's more than the original. If you adjust the inflation of the original, though, it's actually about the same or less than the domestic opening. What's interesting about this movie is that it was really successful in the international box office. So it was the #1 movie in every Asian and Latin American territory when it opened, and it became the highest grossing release in the Middle East, according to Deadline. Deadline actually reported that it had the highest Ramadan opening in Jordan, in the Kingdom of Jordan, and the United Arab Emirates.
Oh, wow.
So, like I said, it made $350 million in North America. Aladdin made $217 million. Adjusted for inflation, that's closer to $400 million. So it actually didn't do as well domestic.
Okay.
But overseas, it was a knockout.
Now, here's the thing about the Hollywood box office, and I learned this from a producer, like a known producer. They basically explained that the U.S. box office is one thing, but what you really want is the international box office. If you create a story that is just something that translates well to multiple cultures in multiple languages, you'll do well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the description is very similar. It's basically the same movie. They change a couple little things, but it's essentially the same beats. Aladdin, a kind thief, woos Jasmine, the princess of Agrabah, with the help of Genie. When Jafar, the Grand Vizier, tries to usurp the king, they should have said Sultan, Jasmine, Aladdin, and Genie must stop him from succeeding. They could have done a one-sentence thing on that, but whatever. We'll work on it. So yeah, do you want to go into anything specifically first before I start rattling off stuff?
So, well, let me just ask you. Let's just ask the $25,000 question. I wish it was that much. Did you like the movie?
I ended up liking it more than I thought.
See,
I thought I wasn't gonna like it.
See, that's the reaction that inspired me to see this movie. I think, look, this movie's not for me. I'm just going to be honest with you that.
That's okay.
And we could cut it out. I think this movie is horrible.
But you are allowed to have your own opinion.
Well, I was about to say, a disclaimer, my opinion does not represent the library or the organization that represents me. But yes, it was not, I didn't like this.
That's fine.
But I liked it more than I thought.
There you go. I think that's fair.
I liked it more than I thought. Even more importantly, like I said, I watched this with someone else, and they were enraptured.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
They were enraptured. They're not going to say enraptured. They're going to be like, Martin, that's overkill. They were enraptured. And
okay.
I think that's the thing is like the movie was better than I expected.
That's where I'm at.
And I think that's the thing. I think everyone had lowered expectations. Everyone thought, okay, is Will Smith going to be as good as Robin Williams? He wasn't Robin Williams. He was something different, and he was better. I actually liked it.
Oh, you think he was better? Okay.
I don't think he was better. No.
Oh,
He's
okay.
not better. No. I think he was. I think when he came in the movie. So I'm watching the movie. First of all, this movie's long.
It's a long movie.
like I'll tell you, for kids, I think the reason the 90s is held up as this really loving movie period is because the movies were short. That's why. Because if you look at
Also
Men in
movies.
Black, it's like 97 minutes.
Family movies should be in the 90-minute range.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be
Aladdin is
honest.
90 minutes. Beauty and the Beast is less than 90 minutes. All these classic Disney. Because, when I worked in my youth theater, we never did plays more than 50 minutes. Because after 50 minutes, kids go wild.
Yeah.
So it's 2 hours. And I remember I paused it for a restroom break at the 30-minute mark, and I saw it had 100 minutes left. And I'm like, that's longer than the original movie. But when it gets to the genie part, all of a sudden the movie picks up and it becomes has a little more razzmatazz to it. And I liked it a lot better once he came in the picture, once Will Smith's genie came in the picture. I think what I liked about Will Smith as genie was that they knew they couldn't do Robin Williams. So they kind of were like, okay, let's make the genie work like
That's the thing.
Will Smith.
They didn't do Robin Williams, which I respect that they didn't.
It almost felt like, and I know this is going to sound weird, the movie for a little bit felt like Hitch.
Here he is. Hitch? Oh, Hitch? Oh, stop.
It felt like Hitch. If you remember, if you
You
know
go
Hitch.
90 and let them go 10.
Yeah, like Hitch, helping out
Hitch
Kevin
is
James,
tiny.
and then you have Genie helping out Aladdin with his game.
Yeah. Actually, that's exactly what this was. He was setting him up.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It's like
Wingman.
I wanted to be angrier at Will Smith's portrayal. There are moments where it fell flat. For one thing, I don't think he has the singing chops. I'm sorry for everybody who was a fan of his rap in the 90s. There's a reason why he stopped doing it. But I think his personality is a lot of fun. I like him in just about every movie I've seen him in. There are parts where I cringed at his scenes. Or like things that he did in the scene.
Do tell, which one? Which scene?
Well, basically, like anytime he looked like this.
Yeah.
Anytime he was the blue genie, because like they were trying to do the cartoon thing and make him very rubbery and stuff, and it works in a cartoon and it felt more awkward in the live action.
Yeah.
But when they made him look like kind of like himself but in a costume, I kind of liked it better. I'm sure that's fighting words to somebody. But yeah, I had mixed feelings on his portrayal. There were parts when I really liked him, and there were parts where I was like, oh, why? Again, I don't think his songs were as strong and not as catchy, but that's me.
No. I think like it all feels like this is my reaction to Aladdin, like in terms of why I don't think it's as good as the first film, and I think it's two reasons. One is it feels muted. Like the colors don't pop as much as they do in the original.
That's something I was gonna bring up.
It doesn't pop. Like I said, the reason I remember seeing Aladdin as a 3-year-old.
I got a picture for you guys to look at. Like literally, like this is for my studio audience. I'll put this in the edit later. This is their version of the magic carpet ride scene. It was so dark, I had to squint, and I have a giant TV in my living room.
Yeah.
It was so dark, and I wanted to enjoy the scene so bad, but it was hard to see them, and the way they filmed it was not my favorite.
Well, yeah, it felt flat. Like the look felt flat. It didn't feel saturated. It didn't feel pop. And I don't know if that's the reason they were doing that was to seem more real. But like I just remember watching the magic carpet ride scene where Abu picks the jewel up and like they're trying to reach the escape. It looked dark in a way that didn't feel like chiaroscuro or feel like it was creative artistic. It just felt dark.
Yeah, the Cave of Wonder scene, the very intro scene in this movie, intro when things really get off, when he finds the lamp, that was so dark. And I'm like, okay, because it's a cave. And then we got to that magic carpet ride, and that was also very dark. And I'm like, I'm sorry, this is fantasy. You can add some light. It's fine.
Yeah.
We'll get over it.
Oh, yeah.
I did find a quote from Guy Ritchie, the director, who said, I chose Will principally because I thought Will had the caliber and generosity of spirit not to entangle himself in the long shadow that was the impressive shadow cast by Robin Williams. For me, it was just about encouraging Will to be more Will.
Yeah.
And I think that was very nice of him.
It worked. I really think like I said, I think the most shocking thing, like if they're the two performers that I think I like the most, Will Smith, and then the new handmaiden played by Nazim Pedrad.
Okay, I did like her.
Yeah.
She's a great little character addition. So for those who haven't seen the movie, there's an additional character that's the handmaiden of Jasmine. Her name is Dahlia in the story, and she's got a great personality. She's so fun. She's like making eyes at Will Smith. She doesn't know that he's a genie yet. She's just like, I want a little drink of that. Like she's so saucy. It's great. Yeah. So she's a great character.
She's a great character. Yeah. Nazim Pedrad. She started off in SNL and then she came on and I
can see that.
So I did read an article to be like, okay, they probably she was originally cast and she was on for the ride, because if I hadn't read that article, I would have thought they probably cast her. She probably had a few lines and then they realized, oh, we need to give her more because she's just she was the best part of this besides Will Smith.
Okay, other things I wanted to mention, like as far as positives, like I really enjoyed the dancing in the movie. I was actually impressed with the dancing choreography. They blended like more traditional moves with some like really poppy, like almost hip hop kind of stuff, and there were some challenging moves being done. Like I can respect that. Yeah. I'll show you guys in the audience a little video later. But yeah, I think it was cool. I think that was neat. They did some cool things here and there. There was parts that fall flat. I think the guy they chose for Aladdin, Mena Massoud, I thought he did a good job. Like he was personable. It's hard to, like, they had this problem in the original film too. They needed to make Aladdin an interesting character.
Well, and that's why they brought in those new screenwriters, was because they couldn't crack Aladdin. They couldn't crack the original Aladdin. They felt like Aladdin kept being over. Basically, like everyone else was doing really great around him, and he was just an everyman, boring character. And so I think that's why Ted Rossio, they basically they made Aladdin a little more of an Indiana Jones kind of roguish character. They made him a little more of a street rat.
He was more awkward in this movie too.
Yeah.
Like he still could like run down the alleys and climb the buildings, get away from the guards and stuff. Like they did that still, but like when it came to personal matters, he was so much more awkward. That's also where I was cringing. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but he was so awkward. The genie's like, "You're never gonna get this. You're never gonna end up getting the girl. You're terrible. I'm leaving. You're ruining this party for me."
Yeah. Did it turn you off of Jam?
Jam thing was stupid. It went too long. Okay, so I'm sorry, I have to explain this. So when he comes in as Prince Ali to impress the princess and the sultan, he's coming in with all his people, like holding the golden camels and spices and all the things they supposedly brought from his home country. And he's like, "Yes, we have jam, apricot jam, fig jam, some other kind of jam." Genie's like, "Okay, stop on the jam now. You're jamming me up. Like, it's too much." And at some point, she makes fun of him, going like, "Yes, did you want to give us some more jam?" It's like there's so much jam-based humor in that scene. It was too much. I guess let's just talk about the things that didn't work or that we would want done differently. Like, what would we say there?
I mean...
It's hard for me to put it all into words.
Well, the thing is, I'm more interested in who this movie is for.
Okay.
Because that's the thing is that when I watched this movie, I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt because it's for kids.
Yeah.
And kids movies are on a different kind of metric. I don't think this movie's for kids anymore. This movie's for Disney adults.
It's for Disney adults.
Like, this movie is for adults who love Disney. Nothing wrong with that.
That's fine.
There's worse things to be into. There's worse things, there are people who are sociopaths out there. But liking Disney adult, no big deal. But it's definitely for adults. And it's definitely I definitely feel like they crafted it with that audience in mind. They added the more details. They added, they were trying to make everything look more lived in. They were trying to, have a little more grit to it. It's a street rat character. I think it was interesting. They got Guy Ritchie, who's known for making like Cockney movies, who's making for like gangster movies. They got him to do that. But he's also directed Sherlock Holmes. He directed The Man from U.N.C.L.E. So he knows how to direct action movies. But yeah, I feel like that's the thing, is that I feel like I can't put it into words. It's less magical.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think it falls short, but something I would like to stress on so many movies I've talked about, just because they made another one doesn't dim the shine of the first one. You can always love the 1992 Aladdin. No matter if they keep making remakes about it, you'll always have that to go back to.
So I want to ask you, what did you think of the new songs?
Okay. I mean, I was like doing a lot of research and reading articles, and someone's like, "Oh, yeah, Jasmine's song was so great." And I'm like, sure, it was good. It did not belong in this movie. It didn't match any of the tone of all the other songs. Was it good? Yeah, but did it also make no sense? She has a whole music video sequence in which people are disappearing around her, and it doesn't happen at any other time. I don't like the way they staged that.
The thing is I don't want to say the music's bad. It doesn't feel
bad.
Okay. It doesn't gel. Like, you have the Howard Ashman, Alan Menken, and we need to shout out Tim Rice. Tim Rice took over Howard Ashman as lyricist.
Okay, yeah.
He's the one who actually won the Oscar for Best Song. So at the Oscars for the original movie, Howard Ashman, Alan Menken, they were nominated for A Friend Like Me, but the winner was Tim Rice, who would later write the lyrics for The Lion King. Tim Rice and Alan Menken for A Whole New World. So he was the one who wrote the lyrics for that. So they brought in Alan Menken to do the music again, but they also had new folks. They had folks who were responsible for Dear Evan Hansen. One of the producers is Mark Platt, who was also responsible for Dear Evan Hansen. And the music, like, it's fine, but it doesn't quite fit.
All the way there.
It's not all the way there, but I understand why they want to do that. I understand. I think what they were trying to do with this film, what I kind of saw in the script they were trying to do, was give Jasmine more.
Yeah, they did.
And they
Yeah.
were trying to give Jasmine more, and they had a great actress, Naomi Scott, who
I thought she did wonderful.
she was in Smile 2. She's
I didn't realize that.
yeah, she's in Smile 2.
Oh.
So,
Also really-
but British actress. So I think they were trying to give her more, and so they were trying to give her more music because I think that's my thing, is that when I watch this movie, I think what I liked about the original is it's kind of simple. It's slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Mm-hmm.
They have a pretty simple plot, but it allows us to kind of dig in a little more. It allows us to engage a little more. There's so many moving points because I think they were trying to make this for Disney adults. So all of a sudden, we've got all this thing going on about a potential war that Jafar is trying to get. We have, the Sultan, who's more stoic and serious and not as jovial as the original.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot more going on plot-wise, and I think maybe if I watch this again, I would feel a little more enchanted. But watching it the first time, I'm just trying to figure out, hey, what's going on?
I also think I might have ruined my potential enjoyment of the new one because I watched these movies like a day or two apart. So I had the original so fresh in my head that as soon as they got to a new original song, which I didn't know they did, it stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, I did too, yeah.
And I couldn't enjoy it for what it was. Also, this is very out of pocket, but doesn't she look like Buffy? She looks like Sarah Michelle Gellar. I swear, there were so many scenes where I was like, "That's Buffy."
There's actually people that have suggested that she looks like Sarah Michelle Gellar.
That's so funny. Okay, I'm just glad I had to get that off my chest. But yeah, I think ultimately it doesn't shine as bright. For one thing, it's not as bright. But I feel like now with movies coming out in this summer, blockbusters and stuff, they're making them brighter again. Like Fantastic Four: First Steps, very beautifully bright, jovial movie. Superman, very bright. We're finally getting out of our mid-2000s, everything's dark and serious, to we're allowed to be goofy sometimes, and I can appreciate that.
Yeah, I definitely think they were starting to do that. Superman was a lot brighter. I mean, so that's the thing, is it's not as shiny or as bright as I want it to be. But at the same time, I watched a couple of other live action adaptations, and this movie is better than those.
Okay.
I think so. I think
I think there's worse out there.
It's watchable.
Yeah.
It's watchable. And there's a degree where that's all that needs to be. And like I said, it's really for Disney adults.
I think at the end of the day, if someone's telling you a movie is bad, I have figured out just watch it for yourself and make your own decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Martin, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been great talking about. You're one of my people I like to talk about. He always texts me did you see this movie yet? I'm like, oh, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So this was really fun. Thank you for helping me with the research.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if people want to learn more about the Filmmakers Club, where do they go to do that?
You can go to the website decablibrary.org, or you could go to decabfilmclub.weebly.com.
So yeah, guys, check it out. Check out your local library. You might be surprised what you can learn there and experience.
Yeah.
If you want to follow the podcast, we are on Spotify, we're on Amazon Music, we're on Audible, we're on YouTube. Our Instagram is Lights Camera Remake Podcast, and you can email us lightscameraremake@gmail.com. Suggestions, ideas, concerns, or critiques, please. And remember, if you remake a Disney film, you're going to get a lot of flack, but supposedly you're also going to make a lot of money, so worth it?
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.